So as I mentioned earlier on, from last week and from this particular session, we've seen that a switch by default, whether we have multiple switch connected, by default, they'll be in the same local area network. And so since when we buy a Cisco switch, we'll see that when you buy a Cisco switch, all the ports are in VLAN 1. So even if we connect two switches, it doesn't matter, they will all be in VLAN 1. And it means that they are in the same network. But sometimes, for some reasons, you want to group devices in particular networks, but you want to be grouping them based on some kind of requirements. And so you can create what we call VLANs, virtual local area networks. So what it means is that in our previous session, we saw that it's just like having a house and you dividing the house into two, even though we have multiple rooms. And so these rooms we may be referring to port numbers F0/0, F0/1, F0/ maybe 3, F0/2, and F0/4. Maybe this will be your VLAN 1. So, and this will be maybe VLAN 2. Now VLAN 1 is going to be one part of your device, and VLAN 2 is also going to be one part of the device. Technically, it's more like saying you've created two switches, even though it's one switch. And that's exactly what we've done here. Now, one thing that we will know is that by default, a switch has all its ports in one broadcast domain. It means that when we send a broadcast message from one port, it should be sent to all the other ports. But once you create a VLAN, another VLAN on the switch, what it means is that, assuming this is, let me clean the screen a bit. So once we create multiple VLANs on the switch, so let's say you create this one. This is F port, maybe F0/0, F0/1, F0/2, 0/3, 0/4, and 0/5. Assuming we've done this, we've created two VLANs. And maybe the first VLAN is maybe 1 second. Maybe the first VLAN is VLAN 1. So if we assign these ports F0/0, F0/1, and F0/2 to VLAN 1, and then also we create another VLAN, VLAN 2, and we assign these ports to VLAN 2. What we're saying is this: if there's a broadcast traffic sent from a port in VLAN 1 to a broadcast message, it will only go to this port and this port. It will not go to this port, because once you create a VLAN, you've reduced the size of your broadcast domain, because now these ones are no longer in this family. So any information that is supposed to be sent to everybody within the family, these guys will not receive it. Technically, you're reducing how much traffic is generated on your device, because maybe for some reasons, these guys don't need that information. So if they don't need it and they're in a different VLAN, they don't have to get it. And so technically what we're saying is that when you create multiple VLAN on a switch, you've reduced the size of your broadcast domain. It means that how many devices that will be getting that message will reduce. Also, you've increased the number of broadcast domains. So when we say number of broadcast domains, we're talking about the number of networks. So when you create a VLAN, you increase the number of networks, which means you've increased the number of broadcast domains, but you reduce the size of a broadcast domain, meaning you reduce the size of a network.